Hello, uh, I am Christina Banks, and I'll be presenting on workplace technology that promotes health and well-being. My colleague, Dr. Sally Augustine, and I conducted a study of technology that supports health and well-being, and that's what our presentation is about today. Let's start with COVID-19. COVID changed how we think about employee health and well-being, both in how employers view the importance of keeping employees safe and feeling cared for, and how employees and job seekers want their employers to demonstrate that they care for their health, safety, and well-being. We examine technology as one area where employers can show that they care about employee health and well-being in tangible ways. But how? We examine the question, which technology actually supports health and well-being in concrete and impactful ways by addressing employees' needs and suppressing factors that encourage burnout. The answer to this question can help employers develop guides and to develop tools for implementing technology in workplaces that actually supports health and well-being. So let's start. Our first question is, how do you experience technology in the workplace? Technology that we use doesn't always work out to feel good. And I'm sure all of you have had an experience where things have actually caused harm when you've used them. For example, I had an iPhone iPhone 10 that actually caused a lot of problems with my hands because repetitive use of my thumbs and holding an iPhone 10 in my hand. An ergonomist said, you've got to stop using the phone and you'll be good in about a year. So we've got to think about what kind of technology is good for people. So that leads to the question, how would you like to experience technology in the workplace? At least don't do harm. We don't want the technology we use to actually make us feel bad or debilitate us. And so the question ought to be, how can it make us feel good? So what enhances our personal and work lives? What will it take to do that? So we need to go back to why that technology was developed. What problem was it trying to solve and how did it solve it? So we have to get back to the concept of human-centered design. This is a phrase that's used, but there's a lot of confusion about what it really means. And a common definition is that it is based on a philosophy that empowers an individual or team to design products, services, systems, and experiences that address core needs of those who experience the problem. And so what's key here is the word core needs. So we need to develop technology that addresses these core needs and does it in a way that does not also come with a set of problems that cause harm. So how can we do our best in creating technology that works for us? So if core needs are essential for creating health and well-being, and will be a guide for how to develop technology, we need to identify what are the core needs that we need to support. So Christina Maslach and I did a study of what are the core needs that lead to health, well-being, and productivity. And among those core needs that we identified, we have 6 here that are directly related to technology. And let me talk about those for just a minute. Autonomy, which is the ownership of behavior and the ability to act with volition, is a key one. Social belonging has to do with having close, intimate relationships with others, and it can also mean having relationships with the organization. Competence, which is the ability to master the environment, to achieve outcomes, and to manage challenges. Physical and psychological safety, which it means being free from harms and threats. Meaning and purpose, it means having meaning in one's life and the ability to do things that are consistent with one's values. And finally, positive emotions, which are experiences of positive feelings like hope, awe, love, joy, all those things that actually make you feel good. So here are the 6 needs that we think are important for designing to design technology for. And so now we have to look at the question, what technology? So again, we went to the literature and looked at what organizations had in their organizations, and we identified 5 different types of technology. Now, I'll say right at the beginning that these are broad brush descriptions of technology that's there, and we know that there are many variations within each of these. But let's talk about the 5. First, environmental quality controls. And these are sensors and controls that actually guide the ambient environment that people work in. So air, temperature, humidity, let's see, air temperature, validity, humidity, and lighting there. Occupancy. These are cameras and sensors that determine how many people are in a space and the flow of occupancy across spaces. Personal status feedback. We're familiar with those with the Apple Watches and the Fitbits. There are wearables and apps that give personal feedback to people in terms of how they're doing, like heart rate, number of steps they've taken, and so on. Communications is another type. It has to do with social networking, apps, and other platforms for communicating with other people. And finally, self-help, which can consist of e-learning programs, tools, and guides, even meditation programs, and so on, for the purpose of giving people a little bit of help when they need it to improve their health and well-being. Okay. So how can technology support satisfaction of basic needs? So in thinking about this, we came up with a set of criteria based on the needs that we want technology to be designed to support. So these are all activities that would, when engaged in, would lead to need satisfaction or would create feelings that would support health and well-being. So let me go over this list. First of all, that the technology supports doing work well. So task achievement, for example. Opportunities for cognitive refreshment. When you do a lot of focus work, you need to refresh the brain so you can continue to do work effectively. Comfortable amount of control, which is being able to control the environment so that it provides a sense of comfort when you're engaged in that environment. Supports bonding with coworkers and with the organization. So it's that connection with other people. Protects personal safety and security. This one's obvious. Both physical and psychological harms. And provides choice in where and when activities take place, because you need to go to places where you will be effective in either focus work or in collaborating with others or socializing, developing relationships. This is important that people can go where they need to go. Promotes healthy habits. So you can improve your health and well-being by adopting these healthy habits. And finally, sending positive messages, which means these are messages that can convey meaning, that result in people feeling good, engaged, proud of being where they are. So these are the various activities and feelings that will result in need satisfaction. So the next thing is to talk about how does the technology match up with the kinds of activities and feelings that will lead to satisfaction. So this is what we came up with. Dr. Augustine and I both independently went through the task of judging whether each of the different technologies provided support for this activity or feeling. And a yes was given to those that were perceived as supportive, and a no for those that weren't designed to do that or failed to do that. So we went through all of the technology, and we did end up with agreement on everything. So let's talk about what the results say. First of all, environmental quality controls provided the most satisfaction. They satisfied 4 different activities that were important. Personal feedback and self-help provided the least, with only 1, and occupancy gave support to 3 different needs through its technology. One way to interpret this is that environmental quality controls are not just discretionary. They are actually baked into the physical workplace through its infrastructure, like ventilation systems and through cameras and monitoring. And there's no discretion to whether people use it or not. And most people don't even know that it's operating, but it's serving to change the ambient environment and the quality of the experience in that physical space so that it optimally supports individuals' health and well-being. Well, it's no surprise that they satisfied many. Personal feedback and self-help is all discretionary. So that means it's dependent on people's motivation to seek help and to adopt whatever that information instructs the person to do in order to improve their health and well-being. And so here are some conclusions that we draw from that. Need satisfaction can be achieved through different types of technology. We have shown that by showing the connection. Competence, autonomy, and safety is served through environmental quality controls. Autonomy and safety is served through occupancy monitors. Competence, belonging, and positive emotions are served by communications, and positive emotions potentially can be served through personal feedback and self-help. Now, this is like a screenshot of these technologies and what we think would be connected to need satisfaction through the design of these technologies. So the caveat is, there are a lot of different types of technology. They come in many different shapes and sizes. So we need to take a deeper dive in this to see, what particular items do. And we also need to know that some of it that is motivation driven may or may not be used and therefore not supported. So in a snapshot, that is what we found in the study, and we hope to study it more. Thank you for listening.